Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shashank Ranjan, and I welcome you all to the daily The Hindu newspaper discussion. This is Chennai edition, February 11 newspaper. This discussion is brought to you by National Defense Institute. NDI is a leading defense preparation institute of India that prepares you for all India Sainik School entrance examination, NDA, CDS, CAPF, Afcat till the SSB, where we believe in holding your hand till you get those stars on your shoulders and emblem on your hat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the newspaper discussion for today. The first news article that's important from exams perspective is Restore Peace, High Court says in hijab case. Okay, and the bench adjourns hearing on the petition to Feb 14. So the case was had gone to the High Court bench of Karnataka, and the bench has adjourned the hearing of the petition to Feb 14. Until that time, the bench has said that the Chief Justice had said that it will pass an interim order for starting the education institution, and that all students should not insist on wearing headscarves or saffron shawl until the bench decides the issue raised in petition. Okay, so until the bench decides, the final decision comes from the bench. Till that time, the court wants to request all the students to return to the college and the college to open, and it should uh, till that time the any order is passed, the neither should the uh, uh, should the student wear hijab, nor should they wear headscarves. Okay, the saffron headscarves that the students are wearing. So none of them should wear anything. So this is an interim order which is going to be passed. Whereas on hearing this, the senior advocate Devdutt Kamath, who is appearing for some of the students, said that even if for a short period, it would amount for suspension of the right to the freedom of religion of Muslim girl students. Okay, so anyhow, this is a news in transition, and there is something very good that's going to come up after the decision is made. This case is also the requested to this it has been requested from Supreme Court to take up this case as well, but Supreme Court has said that since there is a hearing that's already going on in the High Court, so it would not be right for Supreme Court to take up this case. Let the benches form, let the High Court decide, because if the Supreme Court takes it suo moto on itself, then in that case, the High Court will not get a chance even to have a trial or hearing on it. So first of all, let the High Court decide, let their judges decide, and if they are not able to do it, then Supreme Court is always there to have a hearing on it. So that was there. The next important news on this page number is RBI holds rate to spur growth. Okay, so RBI on Friday decided to keep the benchmark repo rate unchanged at 4% and reiterated its accommodative policy stance in bid to ensure economy's growth from COVID-19. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, there we know that there is a uh, Monetary Policy Commission. Okay, there's MPC, which is headed by RBI governor. Okay, it is headed by the RBI governor. Okay, now this MPC has 6 members. This is a 6 member committee where you we have three representative from the central government. Okay, and three representative from bank. All right. Now, uh, it has 6 members. It is a 6 member committee. Fine. And then the RBI governor is the head, and this RBI governor has the casting vote right. What is the casting vote? Casting vote is when there is when the votes are equal, like 5 out of the 5 members, if suppose one member is absent on some day, there are only 4 members present, and there was a voting that was done, then 2 people out of them voted in favor of yes, 2 people in favor of no. Then in that case, the decision would be struck because equal votes are there. Then in that case, the RBI governor has the right for the casting vote, where he can cast a vote and then final decision will be made. But if all 5 members are present and 2 members casted for no, 3 members casted for yes, then it will become yes. At that time, RBI governor will not have right to vote. So that's what is known as the casting vote. So this is about MPC, that's Monetary Policy Commission. Let's understand the next term here. Next term here is the benchmark repo rate. What is repo rate? Okay, repo rate is basically repurchase rate. Repurchase rate. What is meant by that? Repurchase rate, in a very crude, simple language, we can say is a interest rate that RBI charges to the banks when they take short-term loan. Okay, so repurchase rate or repo rate is basically the interest rate that RBI charges from the banks when they take short-term loan from RBI. Okay, and repo rate is also known as the anchor rate. It is also known as the anchor rate because this is the rate which decides what will happen to the rest of the interest rate. Because if the repo rate is high, then in that case, all the interest rate will be high. That is interest rate on any loan. If you take, for example, a car loan or bike loan or education loan, any kind of loan, the rate of interest on those loans will become high, as well as the interest that you get on the savings account, that will also grow. But mostly the impact comes on the loan. Fine. Now, how does RBI uses this repo rate as an instrument for to drive our economy? How does RBI uses this as an instrument? So let us understand. See, repo rate. If repo rate increases, then the rate of interest on the loan increases. Correct. Suppose if there is very high rate of interest. Let me clear this first. Okay, if suppose there is high interest rate and high saving account interest, what do you think? Will the people prefer to take money from the bank or deposit money into the bank? Obviously, when the interest rate is high and the high saving account interest is also there, then people would want to save more money in the bank, save money in bank, right? So people will not take money from the bank, rather they will save it, because no use of taking it, right? Very high interest rate. Who will take loan? Only if it is very, very highly required. Only then people will take loan at a very high interest rate. Instead, they are getting very high saving account interest, right? So people would want to go to the bank and save the amount, whatever is whatever is possible, they'll try to save. But if suppose this interest rate is less, that is repo rate goes down, this is a repo rate becomes high, this is repo rate becomes low. Okay, so interest on loan will become less, and similarly the saving account interest will also become less. Then in that case, what will people do? People will think that why to simply keep our money in the bank? Rather, let's take loan and buy a house. Let's buy a car. Very cheap interest rate, right? We will pay it back. So in that case, the money supply in the economy will increase. That is, instead of money coming into going into the bank, rather the money will start coming out of the bank and will start flowing in the economy. And when the money supply increases, what happens? The when the money supply increases, then people will start taking loan. If the people will start taking loan, then what will happen? The demand will increase. The demand will increase. When the demand will increase, then what will happen? The when the demand for any product increases, then manufacturing will increase. If the manufacturing increases, then what will happen? The employment will increase, because the manufacturing companies will require more and more employees, so employment will increase. If the employment will increase, then what will happen? The economy will grow, right? So this will happen. Therefore, what RBI said, that it will keep the benchmark repo rate unchanged to 4%. This is already very less. Since the time of COVID, government has thought that we need to make our economy grow, right? Because of the pandemic, it got stopped, and therefore a lot of packages were announced. Money supply was heavy into the economy, so that the money supply increases, demand increases, manufacturing increases, employment increases, right? So these were the things that was the target. So now RBI had decided that it will not change the benchmark rate. It will remain as low as 4%, however, but the way it was earlier, and reiterated its accommodative policy. What is accommodative policy? Accommodative policy is a policy where the money supply is high in the economy and there is always a growth. Fine. Basically, in the accommodative policy, stance is taken to ensure that the economy recovers. Fine. So we know that Indian economy was hit by COVID-19 pandemic, and the accommodative policy rate unchanged will lead to the growth in the economy. So I hope this is understood to all of you. Fine. Now let's move to the next important article. Next important news is coming on page number 14. And this is a very, very important news, ladies and gentlemen, because this article has a lot of figures which are important from your exams perspective, especially for CAPF essay paper, argument writing, essay writing, and for the SSB, this article becomes very important. Okay, and then these some prelims question, some questions from the MCQs may come in CDS examination. So with that perspective, this becomes an important article. Okay, so let us understand this. First of all, let's not indulge too much into the political part, because it's like Nirmala Sitharaman ji, the Finance Minister of India, while replying to a question in during the budget session. Now, she referred to the age of darkness as the Andhakal, and she said that basically in 1991 the country had 2 weeks of foreign exchange left, double-digit inflation during 10 years of UPA, particularly UPA 2 was Andhakal. The third coal scam, everyday headline of corruption, 2G scam, middleman all over was the Andhakals, he said. And basically that is the era of darkness. Okay, Andhakal means the era of darkness. And so she said that there was a financial crisis that came in the year 2008 and 9 also. That was a global financial crisis, just like how a crisis had come during the COVID pandemic, which is a once in a century kind of a crisis, because of a disruption in economy takes place because of some kind of pandemic or something. So this happens once in a century. So that event is right now. And during 2008-9, there was a global financial crisis. At that time, Indian economy got crumbled very fast, and the rate became very, very slow. But now Indian economy is recovering very fast. So there comes then she gives a very, very important figure, which is important from exams perspective. Like, despite supply side disruption, India's CPI, that is consumer price index. So I hope you know what is CPI. A consumer price, there are two price index, consumer price index and wholesale price index. Consumer price index deals with goods and services both. It includes both goods and services, which are important for the daily life of the people. There are certain basket of goods and services which government has kept, it has placed. It analyzes the price of those baskets in the direct shops and hotels the businesses, they take the direct rates from them, and then they decide whether there is inflation in the country or not. So that's what is CPI. Next is WPI, that is wholesale price index, where government takes the rates of the basket of goods, not services, only goods, uh, at their wholesale price. All right, so wholesale price is definitely not what general public buys. They buy it at the CPIs, that is consumer price, or the retail price. So CPI is basically used to count inflation, to have an analysis. Even the Monetary Policy Commission that we read, even that considers CPI. And there is inflation targeting, where the target that the MPC keeps is 4% plus minus 2 for CPI inflation. If there is less than 2% inflation in the country, then MPC will start uh, uh, tweaking the bench rates, that is repo rate. And if there is increase in more than 6% of inflation, again the government will try to increase the repo rate so that the inflation reduces. Fine. So that's what it is. Fine. So the government says that despite the supply side disruption, India's CPI inflation was 6.2% in 2021 compared to 9.1% in 2008 and 9. So 2008 and 9, the inflation was very high. The rate of inflation was very high. But 2021, even though there was disruption in supply because of pandemic, but the prices were not very high. Okay, look at the scope and then, okay, leave it, not too much important. Yes, then finally here you see, while India had current account deficit of 2.3% in 2008-9, despite the pandemic, it recorded 0.9% surplus in 2021, while forex reserve had risen from 250 billion in 2008-9 to nearly 650 billion. All right. The FDI inflows were 8.3 billion. Now it is $80.3 billion under our watch. So these are some very, very important figure, very absolutely important figures that she is giving. It is important from your SS perspective. Please make a note of it somewhere in your notebook so that you would be able to use these points for writing essay in CAPF papers. Okay. Now, there are few terms here like the current account deficit. Now we know that there are two kinds of account. One is current account, one is capital account. So current account is the account where the basically the kind of expenditures that are done are on the pension. The expenditures that are done are pension amount, salary amount. Then there are various schemes that government has, like the MSPs that they give to the farmers. So all these are the kind of a money which government, once they spend, it will not come back. Like it's not a kind of investment. It's like just giving away the money. Okay, so that's a current account expenditure. Whereas there are current account receipt also. So receipts are like the fees which students pays, the taxes which the government gets. So all these are receipts. Now this receipt minus the expenditure minus this receipt, if we do, then the current account deficit, we can calculate the current account deficit. So current account deficit is equal to uh, current account expenditure minus the current account deficit receipt, so that we get an amount like, okay, so expenditure on the current account was 100 rupees, for example, and the receipt that the government got was rupees 80 from all the fees and taxes that they collected. So therefore the deficit is 100 minus 80, which is equal to 20 rupees is the deficit in the economy. So this is what she said, that India had a current account deficit of just 2.3 of 2.3% in 2008-9. Despite the pandemic, it recorded a 0.9% surplus. So it says that now we have surplus. There is no deficit. Instead, this number, so the receipt is more. And we know that the receipt is more this year because of the high GST collection. Okay. So this is what she says. And then the forex reserve rose from $250 billion in 2008-9 to nearly 650 billion, which is huge, huge. So our forex reserve is actually very huge in the world. So these are some figures that she gave. Next is some figure on the employment also, like she says that 60 lakh jobs were created over next will be created in the next 5 years just because of the production linked incentive, the PLI scheme, you remember, for the electronics and chip making semiconductor industries. There's a PLI scheme which government has. You can go through my budget session, which is there in the it will be there in YouTube. So you will get an idea about the production linked incentive. Next, so this will create a job, and then we know that government was more focused on the capex expenditure, right? The capital expenditure. So obviously, by capex, it means that more and more infrastructure projects are going to come up, more metro rails, more road and highway construction, lot of infrastructure projects are going to come. So investment this year is going to be highly on the capital side. So capital side investment is like the money is not spent and gone. It's like it is spent and it creates an asset for our country. Like metros are an asset. On the once you invest in metro on the daily basis, you can earn money from the public that's traveling in the metro, right? So that's capital expenditure, correct? So these are the things that we should remember. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and now here she says that the first principle is employment generation would be a natural outcome in general when we are talking of high growth and investment in infrastructure. These are not going to happen without jobs. That is, if there is an infrastructure that's going to grow, definitely if more metro projects are coming, then more labors are required, more and more employments are required. If more metros are there, then to run and operate the metro on daily basis, we would require the vacancies that will come up in the metros, right? So it will create job. This is what she said. So there are a good lot of point. You all, if you should go through this article once, note down some very very important point here in this article. Fine. Now let's move to the next article. There's nothing important on 14, on page number 15. Again, all political news are there, which is not important for from our exams perspective. None of these news are important from our exams perspective. Now, let's move to the foreign section on page number 17. So here we have the first news coming that the Russia launches Belarus military drills. See, the French president Emmanuel Macron was on his visit to Russia, and there he had a meeting. He thought that he will work as a representative for European Union, as a leader of European Union, and he will represent the whole bloc in front of Russia, will try to speak with the Russian President Vladimir Putin and try to make the relation better and de-escalate the tensions at the Ukrainian border. But during his time, when by just looking at how Vladimir Putin was welcoming Emmanuel Macron with his left hand in his pocket and right hand he was shaking. So with that itself, we could understand that Putin has something else in his mind. And then he was sitting in front of in the tables. The two chairs were very far away from each other. They were talking, and then Putin at that time with a very smiley face said that yes, we'll do it, we'll do this that. And after making all the promises, as soon as the French president walked out of the from his chambers, the president Putin gave his speech. In that speech, he clearly uh, gave up out kind of a threat of nuclear war. So it was a completely mockery of the whole president's visit. And Vladimir Putin said that he is not the one who represents. So basically, it's not Vladimir Putin, like the Russian authorities. They said that French President Emmanuel Macron is not the representative of whole European bloc. We don't believe in his words. And yeah, Russia, everyone, all the NATO members must remember, if Ukraine is included in NATO, then in that case, there will be a war that Russia is going to begin. And if And we are also sure that if all the NATO countries, France, Germany, UK, US, all will attack together Russia will definitely defeat. But at the same time, all of these countries must remember that Russia has a very, very high grade, big number of nuclear weapons, and all the nuclear weapons are targeted to each and every of these countries. Our missiles are up and ready, and whenever we'll feel that we are going to get finally defeated, we will launch all the nuclear missiles in all these countries, and then you will have to face consequences. Therefore, please listen to us and don't include Ukraine in NATO. So this is what Russia said. When the Emmanuel Macron, he came out of his of chambers, then he was asked by media. Then he said that the Russian president has promised that there would be no escalation, there will be no more escalation in the Ukrainian border. But as soon as he gave this statement, a statement came from the Ministry of External Affairs spokesman, and he said that there was nothing like this which Vladimir Putin promised to the French president. So the complete visit of French president was actually a blunder. It had no result, and it was just a kind of a mockery of French president visiting Russia. Okay, so basically the military tensions are already increasing, and as soon as he left, the uh, Russia has Russia deployed S-400 missile systems, air defense system in Belarus. Okay, and Ukraine denounces the exercise as the psychological pressure. France terms them as a very violent gesture. So this is what is going on right now. So anyhow, this is a very interesting news coming in, and it's a news in transition. We'll see what happens. See, we must be feeling that at this point of time, India is not getting impacted. But remember this, ladies and gentlemen, the day when Russia attacks Ukraine, at that time, India will have to choose between Russia and the NATO. And at that point of time, India will be into trouble while choosing the partners. Okay, so important for each and every country right now in the world is to de-escalate the tension. Fine. Let's move to the next important news, where this news is coming from Blinken, and he says that Indo-Pacific region will shape the century. Blinken is United Nations. He is a U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. All right, so that is the External Affairs Minister, what we call in our country. So he is the U.S. Secretary of State, and he announced, he said that although right now the tension is going on in Ukraine, but the main focus will always be on Indo-Pacific region, where we have to, Indo-Pacific region, the Quad group which is there, is always opposed by China and Russia. But he said that it is important. It is not that we are working against China, but this block is to ensure that there is always a rule-based system in the region. And he said that president knows, and each of you know that better than anyone else, that so much of this country is going to be shaped by what happens here in the Indo-Pacific region. So this is what he said, that USA and everything is going to be shaped. And 2/3 of the world trade flows through Asian countries. And this is what he said, the Indo-Pacific region is the fastest growing region in the world, accounting for 2/3 of the global economic growth over the past 5 years, and home to half the world's population. Okay, so these are some important news, and he says that uh, he the vision is to emphasize on free and open society, and there must be. This is not about standing against anyone in particular. Here he is indicating China. It is about standing up for the rule-based order. So this is what Mr. Blinken told the Australian Broadcasting Company. All right, and asked whether Biden administration viewed Russia or China as the greater threat to the global security, Mr. Blinken replied, "There and these are very different challenges. Russia right now poses an immediate challenge. So this is what his reply was. All right. The next important news here is this, that Indonesia is to buy 42 Rafale fighter jets. Now, India has bought 36 Rafales. It has Indian Rafale has a different kind of configurations, a very big, a super pack Rafales, but it's not obviously going to buy that high priced Rafale and highly configured Rafale. So it's going to buy 42 Rafales. Now, this is important, especially because there was a submarine deal between France and Australia, and later we found that there was a formation of a AUKUS group, Australia, UK, US alliance, and in this AUKUS alliance, the submarine deal was cancelled, and the relationship with France became bad. Now, Indonesia, while placing a deal for Rafale, has promised that it will take care that nothing like this actually happens. That if there is even meddling of USA, some US company providing them some fighters at cheaper prices, they will not go for that. If they are making a relation with a country, they'll try to maintain it. So this is what they said. So that's what is important here. Fine. The next news that's important is 12 injured in the foiled drone attack on Saudi airport. Now, what is important to know here is to understand that these attacks were done by Houthi rebels. Who are Houthi rebels? So Houthi rebels are present in Yemen. Okay, and Houthi rebels are basically Iran-backed group. There is a government setup in Yemen, and that government is supported by Saudi Arabia, the United States, UAE, all these countries. And the Houthi rebels are the from the Shia community, and they are basically backed by the Iran, and these Houthi rebels uh, are being targeted by the government, the country's military every time. But the Houthi rebels, they do counterattack by attacking somewhere in Saudi Arabia, somewhere in UAE, oil tankers blast, and all those key news will keep coming. So it is important to know about Houthis, because since this remains in news, so there are chances that you may be asked about it in the interviews, whether it is CAPF interview where you'll go and appear in front of UPSC panel, or it is SSB interviews. It becomes very important. All right. Next important news here is Iran talk entering the final phase. This is what the German minister says. So we know that since the change in government, Joe Biden is right now the president of the United States, and earlier the talks of the nuclear deal between USA and Iran had spoiled. Now this the agreement is going may come back, and this will be good for India also. As I told you earlier as well, that this is a news in transition. We will see that what happens, because India's trade with Iran had also stopped, and India maintains a very good relationship with Iran. Instead, Iran was one country which was actually giving us oil in terms of rupees instead of dollars. So that was something good. But then the CATSA Act came, countering American adversary through Sanctions Act, where it said that any country that does trade with Iran, even that country will have to face sanctions, just like how Iran is facing. So because of the fear of sanctions, many countries, including India, had stopped trading with Iran. But China continued. There are other countries that continued. All right, now we want this to come back because we have a very big investment there. The Chabahar port investment is very important for us to have a connectivity with the Central Asian countries and increase our trade till Russia through Central Asia. All right, so this is a news in transition. We'll see what happens here. Fine. Let's now move to the next page number and see and the important news. Okay, so here the next. So RBI retains status quo to spur growth is on the page number 1. As I said, that the repo rate is going to remain same. You can read this as well. So it will be accommodative, as we read on the first page. Now you can read this article to understand more about it and to get some more figures. All right. So anyhow, we have already discussed the important terms. Now, the next important news here is cryptos are the threat to financial stability. This is what Saktikanta Das, the governor of the RBI, has said. So he said that these cryptocurrencies are unregulated money. That is, there is no backing of Reserve Bank of India. So it's a kind of a currency that doesn't have a backing of the government. It's a private run currencies which has no value. So he says that investors in cryptocurrency, when they are investing, should keep in mind that whatever they are investing is at their own risk. They should also keep in mind that the cryptocurrency has no underlying asset, not even a tulip. So this is what he said, that there is no underlying asset. It has no value. Anytime if the government want, it can ban cryptocurrency. If you are investing in cryptocurrency, do it at your own risk. Okay, so private cryptocurrency, or whatever the name you call it by, is a big threat to the microeconomic and financial stability. Even see, these kind of currencies, if they are not regulated by any agency, they can be used for terror financing and money laundering purposes, right? So these are some big risks. Government want basically it government is looking into it, and it may come up with a decision. Indian government is also in talks with other countries to understand the exact position, that what has exactly to be done with these cryptocurrencies. Should they be regulated? How could they be regulated? And all these things are coming there. So this is what is important news here. Fine, ladies and gentlemen. So these were some important news articles from today's newspaper. I hope this discussion was helpful to you. If you have any doubts, queries, please comment it in the comment box below. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or anything else, any inquiry you want to do, please visit our website www.nationaldefenseinstitute.in, and there you can give us a call on the contact number given. We'll meet tomorrow with the next newspaper discussion. Till then, take good care of yourself. Have a nice day, all of you. Thank you.